start the recording now. So, 大家下午好，欢迎大家参与今天的会议。我是国际商标协会亚太地区首席代表 Seth Hayes。今天的小会议的目的是帮助您更好的了解今年的 INTA 创新形式年会和领导层会议，而且呢，就是给大家这个机会提出问题、建议和意见。如果有任何问题的话，您可以用那个 Zoom Chat feature 写下来你的问题，中文、英文都可以。或者呢，你可以向 INTA 的中国代表处团队 Monica Su 和 Vicky Dai 直接 chat。请大家注意，今天的会议将被录像的，Vicky just said。而且呢，就是为了更清楚的声音，请大家按 mute 一下。谢谢你的合作。Now, without any further ado, 下面有请 INTA CEO Etienne Sanz de Acedo. Etienne.
Thank you very much, Seth. Good afternoon, everyone. It's very nice to see so many familiar faces. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us during this town hall. I would like to share my screen and show you how the next annual and leadership meeting will look like. So hopefully I should be able to share my screen. It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing. So I need to be able to share my screen, Vicky or Monica, or unless you want to share yours so that I can present the presentation.
1 second, Etienne. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now. Try that again.
Okay, now it's good. Okay. So hopefully, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Okay, perfect. So we're going to present to you how the annual and leadership meeting will look like, and we'll take from there, questions. So let's think that. Let me go back. So this is the environment that you will find, well, you will be entering the virtual annual and leadership meeting. This, of course, is a mock-up. So that means that the final features might be a little different in terms of design, but conceptually, you will get into a lobby. You will see as a kind of navigation bar where you will have sessions, networking opportunities, meeting spaces, and partners. And as you can see, you'll have the information on your screen as well, so that you can either go to corporate meetings or go to the exhibition hall or go to the live sessions. And on the top of your screen, you'll have your profile that you'll be able to edit when you join, and you'll have a help desk functionality that will be working 24 hours a day. So let's move now into the education part of the meeting. So when we are into sessions, you'll have the agenda per day, per track. That's something new this year in the sense that we're organizing our content in different tracks to give you guidance on what might be relevant to you. So there's going to be a track about brands around the world. This is filing and prosecution. There's going to be a track on anti-counterfeiting and enforcement. There's going to be a track on how to manage your brands in times of crisis, in plural. So not only as a result of COVID-19, but prior financial crisis, what does it mean in terms of a trademark portfolio? What does it mean in terms of the interaction between external counsel and the corporate members? There's going to be a track on what we call soft skills, or on how to advance your career, which will be about how to, for example, interact in a virtual world. And there's going to be, of course, a track on diversity and inclusion. There's going to be a track on related rights. And there's going to be 2 tracks that might be very relevant to you. One is going to be an Asia track, and there's going to be one day that is going to be dedicated to our Chinese members. And that will be a track that will be fully in Mandarin. And that's the first time ever INTA is doing so. So as I said, the sessions are going to be organized per day, per track. This is more for guidance. And you're going to have content that is going to be available both live and on demand. What does that mean? Well, basically it means that, you know, you'll have content every day between the 16th and the 20th of November as live content. But on top of that, all the content will be available on demand, which basically means that if you're networking, if you're in meetings during those days and you don't have the possibility to attend a session, you'll be able to listen to those sessions, to look at those sessions anytime you want after the meeting, and definitely at least until the end of the year and probably even more. Now, let me perhaps move to the next slide. So let's imagine we go into one of the keynote sessions or a breakout session. That's exactly what you will see. You'll be in a kind of theater. You'll have the main screen with the presentation, the faces of the presenters, and you'll have a chat function so that you'll be able to interact directly and ask questions. And of course, there'll be sponsorship opportunities on both sides of the screen. Now, let's move into networking. We know that networking is absolutely critical for all our members, and particularly for the external councils. And that represents around 90% of our membership and participation to the annual meeting. I'm going to confess to you that we've taken a lot of time in finding the right vendor, a partner to build this platform. We've rejected a lot of, you know, potential partners because most of them were very good at education, but they were not good in terms of their networking offering. And so basically we've ended ourselves with a partner that is really strong. And what we are doing is creating a platform that is integrating all kinds of different applications so that we really offer a very strong networking opportunity. What are you going to have in terms of networking? What are you going to have in terms of, you know, being able to meet other external councils or meet with corporate members? Well, the first one are the table topics. And we're organizing the table topics a little different this year. There's going to be around 170 table topics like in the past on, you know, legal issues. And there'll be a speaker for about 25 to 30 minutes. And then, you know, there's going to be question and answers. But on top of that, we're going to have 50 table topics that are going to be moderated by corporate members. And I mean it when I say moderate, because basically they are choosing a topic of interest for them individually or for their companies. They will be introducing the topic just for 3 to 5 minutes, and then they'll open the floor for questions. Those will be groups of 10, 12 people. The participants are expected to add value to the conversation. And frankly, it's going to be a unique opportunity for you to somehow introduce yourselves in front of corporate members from all around the world and somehow to shine in front of them. Most of the major companies have agreed to moderate table topics. I know that, you know, companies such as Amazon, such as Novartis, such as PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, you know, all major corporations have agreed to moderate such table topics. On top of that, we're going to have speed networking. Some of you might have participated in the past at the annual meeting in person. We've been doing that virtually for the last 3 months, and we've been totally sold out. The concept is 10, 12 people in a virtual meeting room, introducing themselves, having an informal chat for up to 1 hour, and then all the contacts of the participants are shared so that you can follow up with each other. In addition to that, we're introducing an AI-empowered matchmaking solution. Remember that I mentioned to you that you'll have to edit your profile when you join. Well, when you'll be editing your profile, you will be identifying your preferences. The AI-empowered app will match you, if you want so, with people who have similar preferences to you and will give you the chance to interact with them. If you say yes to that, you will be able to exchange emails. And if you want to go a step further and have a virtual video conference with them, you'll be able to do so. And last but not least, there's going to be plenty of social networking opportunities. We call them experiences. There's going to be meetups. There's going to be wellness. sports tastings. So there might be wine tasting, beer tasting, there might be yoga classes, mental health classes in groups as a networking opportunity. Now, as important as networking is, of course, the meetings between firms and the meetings between firms and the corporations. So how is that going to work? Within meeting spaces, you'll have the corporate meeting rooms, and here the corporations will organize their large meetings with their external counsels within our platform. So let's imagine I'm an external counsel. I'm one of you. So basically, I'm going to go into meeting spaces and I'm going to see all the companies that have organized meetings with their external counsels. Of course, I will only be able to access those meetings to which I have been invited. You know, it will be secured, there will be a login and password, there will be a pre-registration, but you'll be able to access the meetings for which you've been invited with corporations. And over the last 3 weeks, I've taken at least 50 personal calls with corporations from around the world. I spend between 30 minutes to 1 hour with each of them, presenting this demo, explaining the concept, and the response I got from corporations was massively supportive. In fact, we've already seen a great registration from corporations, and the large majority of them, probably 90% of them, have agreed to organize their meetings with external counsels within our platform during the annual meeting, which basically means you will need to be registered to the annual meeting. You need to attend the annual meeting if you want to be able to interact with those corporations that are your clients or that potentially could become your clients in the future. As I mentioned, the corporate meeting rooms, we're going to have business hubs, and this is for those of you who would like to purchase a space within the annual meeting platform to be able to interact with your clients in a more kind of solid way. And this is what I'm going to show you under partners. This is about exhibitors and sponsors. So let's, for example, go into the virtual exhibition hall. So this is what will happen. Let's imagine this is the gold pavilion. So I'll see all the exhibitors who are gold. I would be able to click on any of those. And when I click into one of these exhibitors, this is what I will see. I will have the exhibitor logo. By clicking there, I would go into their website and find all their information. I will see a main screen with all the information, the presentations, you know, whatever they want to introduce to me. And then, of course, I will see their offerings as a company, their team composition. I'll be able to make appointments, and I'll be able to request a video meeting. And that same concept applies to what I said before about the business hubs. That would be somehow the sponsor suite. Now, let me move into the final part of the presentation, because I know this is a lot of information at the same time. We've always mentioned that the annual meeting would be from November 16th to the 20th, which is absolutely true. But the platform will be live for 2 entire weeks. So it will be live from the 9th to the 13th, over the weekend as well, and then from the 16th to the 20th. And here, what I want to show you is the different opportunities we're creating for our members. So as you can see, on the 9th, 10th, and 11th, these are the dates that are reserved for corporate meetings with their external counsels. On the 10th, 11th, and 12th, these are going to be the committee meeting days. And I would like to be very clear on that. We expect all the committee members to be registered to the meeting. That's, you know, an expectation we have when somebody agrees to be part of the committee. There is the expectation that that member will participate in all committee meetings, and definitely in committee meetings that take place at annual and leadership meetings. And last but not least, on November 13th, that will be the day dedicated to what would normally be leadership meeting, and there will be educational sessions on leadership trends. But what I would like to show you as well from this screen, as you can see, already on the first week, there are plenty of networking opportunities. As you can see, speed networking is going to take place from 7 a.m. East Daytime to 6 p.m. So that means that we're going to have 11 hours of nonstop speed networking. On top of that, you know, as of day one, there will be table topics. As you can see, there is 1 hour on Monday, but then as of Tuesday, there are 2 sessions of table topics twice a day. And we choose those hours precisely thinking of, you know, our members globally and what would be the best option. And last but not least, you see as well social networking. Again, this is the first week, which is more the kind of preparatory week before the annual meeting. And then, as you can see here, that would be the week of November 16th to the 20th. This is just the live content. So there is far more content that will be available on demand. But as you can see, every day from the 16th to the 20th, in terms of live content, we'll start with a kind of, you know, opening session or large town hall. And then we have a full set of breakout sessions. Sessions are normally between 45 to 60 minutes, but we'll have as well one-to-one interviews. We'll have shorter sessions to make it more dynamic. All those sessions have small icons that correspond to the different tracks. And once again, you see 11 hours of speed networking every day. You see social networking twice a day, table topics twice a day. Last but not least, I really would like to stress the fact that for the first time ever, we're going to have a China track, and that will be on Wednesday, November 18th, and that's going to be at China time. And we're going to have as well an Asia track that will be on Thursday, November 19th. This is something that probably Monica can help me, but you know, as part of the China track, we're gonna have specific sessions that will have to do with issues that are very relevant to you. So I'll give the floor to Monica or Vicky in a second, but before doing so, and before of course taking all your questions, I would really encourage you to feel confident about the platform we're developing, about the virtual annual and leadership meeting. We really think at INTA this is going to be a unique opportunity. And if I look at the numbers so far, we are very positive about, you know, the development of the meeting. We already have 80 corporations worldwide that have registered to the meeting, and they've done so in a massive way. What do I mean by that? Almost every company is registering at least the same number of participants as in prior years, if not even more. And many companies, as part of the conversations I had with them, see this as a unique opportunity to interact even more with their external counsels. And I would even go further. I think there is an expectation from corporations to see large participation from the members and the external counsels. Just a couple of final comments in terms of pricing, because I know that is always, you know, a very relevant issue. As you know, we decided to precisely support companies and firms to somehow reduce exceptionally the fees. And the fees are $750 as early bird, $850 as regular. This is a 32% discount compared to a regular annual meeting and a 62% discount compared to annual and leadership meeting jointly. But more importantly, many Chinese firms in the past have brought, you know, significant participation to the meeting. So this year, for every firm that is registering and paying 5 registration, there will be a 1 free additional registration. So if you bring 10 paid registrants, you'll have 2 extra free registrations. And for the corporates, every 3 paid, there is 1 free. As you know, we've already opened registration. Early bird will end on August 21st. And I think it's important to mention that. Why is it important to register as early bird? Well, there are 2 main advantages. First, you're going to be able to attend sessions that are limited in attendance. When we have a town hall where we can only have 200 people, the first who are registered will be able to participate. The others will have to, you know, watch it on demand, but not live. And similarly, for the first 1,500 registrants, we'll give them preferential access to hotels at the future annual meeting in San Diego in 2021. So these are advantages we know are relevant to our members, and this is why we wanted somehow to maintain this. I'm going to probably pause here, and I don't know, Seth, whether it's going to be Monica who's going to explain those two slides, or is it going to be yourself or Vicky?
We'll pass it over to Monica for a quick explanation of our Mandarin program. Monica?
Thank you. If I may, I'd like to speak in Mandarin to give a brief introduction of the Mandarin. Okay. 大家下午好。首先非常感谢大家百忙之中能够抽时间参加今天的会议。我是 INTA 的中国区代表苏红 Monica， 也是中文论坛的 INTA 联系人和负责人。接下来呢，我想用简单的几分钟给大家介绍一下中文论坛的背景和它的主要的议程安排。应该说，作为本届年会的亮点之一，也是出于一个时差的考虑，我们今年特设了中文论坛的专场。它的定位呢，在于无论是从受众还是从主题来看，它都是以中国会员为主，但是又不局限在中国这个法域。刚才 ATM 这边也提到过，INTA 这是第一次在年会上举办中文专场，我们也希望这是一个很好的契机，能够推介更多的中国知识产权的发展状况，推介中国的会员，无论你是律所的代表还是你是企业的代表，能够通过 INTA 这样的一个平台，能够向世界发声。那我本人呢，包括我看到今天很多参会的一些我们在 INTA 委员会就职或者是 ChinaCAC 上就职的成员们，都有同样的希望，能够期望在今后 INTA 的无论是年会或者是领导层会议上，都能有更多的中国声音释放出去。那么至于议程而言的话，我们这次中文论坛刚才 ATM 也提到了，是定于11月18日星期三北京时间的上午9点半到晚上9点半一天的一个全天候的一个议程。当然，我们肯定会留出一定的富余时间供大家去休息、茶歇或者处理邮件、处理工作。那么全天的议程的话，我们都将以中文展开进行，主要分成2个部分。第一个部分呢是上午9点半到下午4点半，这是一个白天的时段。那另外一个部分呢是晚上7点到晚上9点半，那这是2个半小时的一个晚上的时间段。白天的时段的话，我们主要是由我们在中国的一个长期合作伙伴来支持和完成的4场论坛。那议题呢涵盖了从人工智能、大数据，对商标保护的影响，隐形进口中的商标侵权认定，一直到执法的最新发展趋势和商标法实施1年以来的一个回顾，这样4个主题。当然，在这期间的话，我们还会有以中文进行的圆桌会议穿插期间，时间是在当天的11点到12点之间。那与此同时，我们还会有来自专家学者、政府、法院的官员和企业代表做主旨发言，来开启整个全天候的一个议程。那另外一个组成部分也很重要，就是这个晚上的打击恶意的一个论坛是7点到9点半的。因为考虑到这个话题其实不仅仅是中国会员的关注的一个焦点，我们也希望在接下来的无论是发言人、主持人的一个遴选上，还是在演讲议题的一个确定选择上，能做到一个更好的一个平衡。这个意思呢，我其实是讲的是说，希望能够在内容上能够引入更多的关于域外的最新的理论或者是实践的一个动态发展。所以大家接下来可以从下一页的屏幕上可以看到，在恶意这一场的话，我们是有三个子话题，它其实包括的是商标注册中的恶意判定与规制、商标侵权诉讼中的恶意注册抗辩和恶意与商标侵权损害赔偿。那第一个话题的话，我们会邀请国家知识产权局商标局的同事来发言，给我们介绍一下最新的一个实务动态。另外2个话题的话，我们会邀请法院的法官来介绍一个相应的一个情况，包括最新的一个案例的一个发展动态，都是希望能够涵盖在这3个话题当中。那可以现在这样讲，无论是中文论坛全天还是恶意论坛这一场，我们目前的议程基本上是确定下来了。接下来的话，我们会进入到甄选主持人、发言人、敲定演讲题目一系列的这些准备环节。如果大家对以上有任何建议或者是想法，也欢迎随时跟我取得联系，我会在我的对话框这边留下我的联系方式。有关中文论坛呢，我就先讲这些。如果大家有任何疑问的话，我们也可以在接下来的这种问答环节再继续。I think having said all that, I will turn again the floor to our board member Bai Gang to share with his experience and say something. Over to you, 白刚有请。
谢谢大家。Hello everyone. 感谢Seth、Etienne 和 Monica 对我们annual meeting 的这个介绍我觉得里面有很多令人兴奋的这些消息。我觉得从我参加那个INTA年会的经验来看呢，我是从1993年第一次参加年会，然后每年都参加。 只有在2003年错过一次，就是因为这个 SARS， 当时 SARS 爆发之后，这个国际旅行就不那么容易了。那么现在看起来，历史总是这么惊人的相似，啊，就是马克吐温说的这个 history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhythm。啊，这次情况可能我觉得就是重复了有点当时的情况。啊，但是无论如何呢，我觉得每次在年会上，我们似乎除了那个开幕式和闭幕式以外，我们大部分人是很难抽出时间来参加各种教育计划，啊，也很难去真正的去学习或者说享受，啊，因为我们在regular 的这个 annual meeting 上，大家都是在跑啊跑啊的，在 networking， 啊，这个 appointment， 啊，我觉得这次我们可以抽出更多的时间和精力去enjoy 一下这个我们的各种 program， 啊，我相信也是会非常的有价值，啊，而且对大家都会很有帮助的。还有就是说，我觉得今年的这个 virtual 的这个 annual meeting 呢，应该是给我们提供了一个前所未有的一个平台，使我们这些大家都是商标的这个从业人员，还可以在全球范围内继续进行联系。啊，在这个时刻呢，我觉得我们很难再像过去那样面对面的交流。啊，那么根据目前的这个全球的这个疫情发展来看，我们应该做好长期不能面对面的交流的准备。所以呢，我觉得我们应该积极投入到这种网络空间的这种保持这个活跃度，同时我们要紧跟这个技术的这种法律和信息发展的步伐，啊，要大家都能够学习新技术，应用新技术，啊，能够对这种 virtual 的东西能够掌握得更好，啊，也许在很长的时间内，我们和我们的客户、和我们的同行，啊，我们只能通过这种方式交流了，只能通过这种方式开拓业务，也只能通过这种方式去。
I wonder whether Baigang is having connection problems.
It seems there might be a connection problem. If Baigan comes back in, we'll let him finish his statements. We welcome everybody to please write any questions into the chat, or feel free to unmute or raise your hand to ask a question.
And until we get the first question, Seth, you know,
yeah.
A couple of comments I wanted to add as well, because I think it's important to mention that, and I did not. We're going to have as well a very significant participation from heads of IP offices from all around the world. We're going to have as well a very relevant delegation from your own office. We will have the incoming Director General of WIPO. We'll have the Executive Director of EUIPO. We'll have the Director of the USPTO. So all major offices worldwide will be participating, and that's also a great opportunity to interact with them. Similarly, as part of the education program, I did mention the live sessions and the on-demand content, but we have a full set of workshops that will be dedicated to, for example, anti-counterfeiting and enforcement. There's going to be a workshop on women leadership in IP. There's going to be a workshop of IP officers. There's going to be an in-house workshop. So that's something that is very relevant as well. And last but not least, technology, which is a question for everyone. We, as I've mentioned, we are creating a platform that is extremely robust. And it's going to be critical to be registered to participate into the platform. So it's going to be logging, password protected. It's going to be individual usage. And we're putting a lot of efforts into the security of it to secure confidential conversations between corporations and members and between members themselves. Now, from a user perspective, the only thing you'll need is either, you know, a personal computer, a laptop, or a tablet, and a good Wi-Fi connection. Provided you have that, you'll be able to fully navigate through, you know, the environment. So I think it's important to mention that because that might anticipate some of the questions we might get. And happy to take any questions or any comments from anyone. Please don't be shy. This is, it's a great opportunity for us to explain the environment, but also to get your feedback and potentially to answer any questions you might have.
Great. I see somebody has raised their hand, Yongjin, Brant Lei. If you'd like to unmute, please feel free to speak.
Yeah, is everybody hearing me right now?
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for having us here. And do you have a question about the virtual meetings? I know you just tried your best to create a very good environment online, but I'd like to know whether there will be some like a period of time for trial or to warm up before everybody's getting used to this online thing, like, or 2 or 3 days before the formal annual meeting or leadership meeting. Thanks.
Now that's a great question. Thank you so much. So a couple of things. I would say yes and no, and let me explain. As we said, the dates of the annual meeting were always, the 16th to the 20th. However, we decided to expand that and have a lot of events taking place as well from the 9th to the 13th to first give more opportunities to the members to interact, to make sure that, a big majority of large meetings would not encompass the education program, and also to allow the members to get familiar with the technology of the platform. So that's why we're organizing things this way. But on top of that, between now and November, there's going to be many more town halls. There's going to be different sessions to precisely explain to everyone how the platform will be working. What we showed you so far is a mock-up. Now we're, developing all that, as you can imagine, with the vendor. And I can already announce that in September, we're planning to have a kind of half-day workshop where we're going to be talking specifically on how to manage your meetings in a virtual environment. And this is precisely talking about, our annual and leadership meeting. And we'll have, experts both from INTA and from the vendor who are going to be showing how to, go to your profile, register, how to get into meetings, how to take the utmost advantage of the platform. So definitely this is something that will be happening. On top of that, for those of you who might be speakers, we will be training specifically the speakers, providing them, additional skill sets to be able to perform well within the virtual environment. And you'll always have information available on the website. So there's going to be plenty of touch points to make sure that the day we start, everybody is comfortable with the technology. As a final comment, we had recently our first ever virtual conference kind of, 4 weeks ago. It was about brands in society. The technology was not the same, but it was somehow similar. I would say perhaps, attendees during the first hour did not exactly know how to work. After that, it was very smooth and it was a seamless experience. And the technology we're using for annual and leadership meeting is, I would say, probably 100 times stronger than the one we used for that conference.
Thanks, it really helps.
You're very welcome.
Etienne, if I may, I've got 2 questions in my chat.
Please.
I can share with you. The first question would be, do we have any sort of the attendee list that it comprises of the government, especially of the enforcement government officials? And the second question would be, when can we get the exhibitor package information, and when will that be?
Yeah, so these are 2 great questions. I'm going to start with the second one. If you want to know more about, the exhibition hall or becoming sponsors, you should get in touch with Paula Lee. But the best way for you to do so is through either Monica or Vicky or Seth. They will put you in touch with Paula, and Paula will be able to present to you the different offerings. If I may, and that's my very personal opinion, but I'm very happy to share that with you. I think this is a unique opportunity in terms of, annual and leadership meeting. Because, when we have an in-person meeting, as we know, some people go to the convention center, some people go to meetings into hotels, many people go to receptions. This is the first time ever that we all gonna get into the annual meeting through the same places. through what I call the same corridors, the same meeting rooms. So it's probably, if you want to, show your presence, that's probably the best year to, be a sponsor or be an exhibitor. And the second point I would like to make, in my conversations with corporations, the corporations are very supportive of the format of the meeting, and they're expecting the firms to do so as well. And they're expecting the firms to be actively participating, not just by, putting their names by having one person participating. They want to see massive participation on the side of the firms. And last point I want to make related to that. As INTA, we're making a very significant investment into the platform. We're building something that is very robust. And the reason for that is that this is not just because we had COVID-19 and we need to get through 2020. We're investing in that technology because we're convinced that we'll continue using that technology in the future. In fact, we're already planning that for our future annual meetings, there's going to be probably 80% that will be in person, but there's going to be at least a 20% virtual. And we're also thinking that many of our conferences in the future will be in a virtual format. So as you know, we're through a digital transformation, that's part of it. The sooner you get used to it, the sooner you participate into it, the stronger you will be, and the stronger you'll be perceived by the corporations who are the one hiring your services. Now, to the first question, which was about the list of participants. Yes, that will be available, but it will be available at a later stage. Once we have built, the portal as such, then, the list of registrants will be available so that you can start setting your meetings. And we're also incorporating, different solutions, different apps that will allow you as well to take, smaller meetings, one-to-one meetings, and do that like we're just doing it now in a virtual face-to-face meeting. So that is something that will be available. But just to give you an idea of the companies and firms that are being registered, just check our social media, just check our website. You'll see already, some names of companies and firms, which, by the way, are not all the ones that are registered, but only the ones that have allowed us to use their name and tell that they will be attending the annual meeting.
Thanks, Etienne. It's Vicky here. I noticed Mr. Baigang just came back, and can we please give it back to him so
Of course.
he? Thank you, Etienne. 白总，您请继续讲吧。
You're on mute, Baigang.
Okay.
You're good now.
Fine now?
Perfect.
Yeah. 刚才我讲到，就是我们要适应这个网络的这个时代，所以包括我们的网速啊各方面可能还都得有所保障因为我们很长时间之内可能只能通过这种方式进行交流刚才我听Etienne讲的，我觉得这个新的这个 virtual meeting 给我们还是很多期待我们也无需再像过去那样去坐长途飞机或者是去找酒店我们可以更加灵活的，就是利用这种为我们不同时区设计的，刚才他讲的很多现场按需的呀，还有各种一个人对一个人的这样的机会我觉得都有很多身临其境的这种参会体验都是非常值得我们去期待的所以我们呢也觉得在这个时期呢我们既要这个在遵守目前这种疫情期间的各方面的这种忍受各方面的不便同时我们还要继续的去正常的去开拓业务，或者正常的去做我们该做的事情。所以我觉得这次的这个 annual meeting 也是一个非常好的，也是一个非常值得我们去投入的机会所以我们是所有的那个我们 committee 的成员都会参加这个会议我们已经注册了16个人一共我们也会在会议期间给他们更多弹性的工作时间所以我们也觉得也希望大家能够就是积极响应，能够充分的利用好。我们也同时我们也是去在这种时期去适应我们新的这种工作的这种方式那么我就再一次表示吧，我对这个我们的年会还是充满期待的。我就说到这儿谢谢大家。
好的，感谢白总。Etienne, for your information, Mr. Baigang just mentioned he has already registered 16 lawyers under his company and his organization, and will be offering them free work slots.
Thank you very much, Baigang, for that. And you know, that's a great example to follow. I think, you know, if I may, that to me is the smart approach, because we are truly convinced, and this is not just myself, it's the full board of directors, and Baigang is part of that, but it's also, you know, all the INTA officers. We're convinced of the success of the meeting. And, you know, when talking to corporations, you know, it's very clear that, you know, there is an expectation to have a very strong interaction with external counsels. There's going to be a lot of, you know, touch points, a lot of opportunities. I think, you know, from my conversations with companies, I think some of them are really taking this crisis as an opportunity to rethink their business, to sometimes reopen their game in terms of, you know, their strategies. And this is where, you know, the more you'll be participating, the more chances you'll have to do that. I'll just give you an example. I mentioned before, you know, the fact that we can have 50 table topics moderated by corporate members. That means that, you know, you're going to have 50 corporations that are going to be available to talk to you, companies you don't necessarily know, people you've perhaps never ever met, and you're going to have a chance to interact with them directly on topics of their interest. And if you're able to show, you know, that you can bring value to them, well, that's, you know, gaining visibility in front of them. And this is one just touch point. I mean, we're going to have the table topics, we're going to have the workshops. There's going to be, of course, you know, all the meetings that can take place. So it's, listen, nothing is going to replace, you know, a hug or having a beer together. There's no doubt about that. However, you know, this is a great opportunity in a year where we know that, you know, no one would be traveling. This is a great opportunity to continue doing business and to start thinking about doing business in a different way. And this is why we think it's absolutely critical to have a great participation. China has always been extremely strong within INTA. We want to make sure that that continues to be the case. That would be my priority for this meeting.
If I may hear, Etienne, there is another question. Sorry, Brown. There is another question as we speak coming in, which is, are we still able to submit the table topic proposals? Because if we are to attract the audience in EST time zones, can we still do that?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, the table topic programming is kind of already closed. However, if you have additional ideas, you know, please feel free to send those. The person responsible for the table topics is Peg Reardon. But again, I mean, through Monica, Vicky, or Steph, please pass us that information and we'll see whether there is an opportunity to, you know, insert that in our offering. One of the things that is happening and is very interesting is that, for example, all the workshops are already sold out. And because of that, we had to, you know, include additional workshops. So we haven't yet, you know, launched the table topics. That will be probably in a week from now. So it's really by the very end of July. So just a week away. But, you know, as soon as we see table topics being sold out, it's very probable that we might include additional table topics. So that would be an opportunity. Of course, you know, table topics will only be open for, you know, speaking engagement or moderation to members who are registered, and will give preference to those firms that have a significant registration into the meeting, which makes total sense. Yes, I see a question.
Yeah, Christopher.
Yeah, okay. Hi, thank you, Etienne, for your very comprehensive introduction about this, the very first virtual conference. And I think I heard a lot from your introduction about some very attractive points to Chinese firms and companies. And I'm sorry, I came a few minutes later, so I may miss some part. But I have a suggestion. I think, is that possible that we display your video to more Chinese members in different occasions, because the information from you introduction, I think, is very helpful for many firms, lawyers, to understand those highlights, the attractive parts of this virtual conference. So we will help to promote those information and try to persuade more Chinese members to register to attend this meeting. Because I noticed this Zoom meeting is recorded, so we will have a video tape of your presentation. I think it will be very helpful. That's my suggestion. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's a great suggestion, and I noticed that Seth was already taking note, as well as Monica and Vicky. We'll definitely do so, because you need to help us. You're the ambassadors of the association, and the more we talk about the format of the meeting, the more comfortable everybody will feel, and the more participation we have, the bigger the success of the meeting will be for the association, but as well for you as individuals. And that's why, I think it's our responsibility, all of us, to try to, explain and promote as much as possible so that we make the meeting successful. So thank you very much for the suggestion. Very well.
Sure. Yeah. You can trust us. I think all the members in the committees are making their efforts to promote this virtual conference. But sometimes, we need to control the balance. We don't want to show them as a dealer for INTA. We try to promote more naturally. Okay, but we'll definitely do that job. But I have one question about the social networking, because as you mentioned in the past, that the social networking is a very important part to attract people come to INTA. But this time you have virtual social networking, but I don't know whether I missed that part. Can you explain more how people do the social networking on the internet?
Absolutely. So, the social networking, and as you saw, there are different topics. So we have experiences, we have meetups, we have sports, we have wellness, and we have tastings. And there might be more to come. Basically, we're trying to somehow replicate things that would happen in person in a virtual environment to give additional opportunities to network in small groups. Networking, to be efficient in a virtual environment, cannot be 200 people together, because then, people cannot speak to each other. So we're more thinking about small groups. We're always thinking about, and this is in cooperation with our vendor, it should always be groups of 10, 12, sometimes it can go up to 20 people. But let me give you an example. Some of you here are, big wine experts and wine fans. What we can perfectly organize is a wine tasting with a sommelier, where, a sommelier would be explaining the wine that is being tasted. And the people who would register to that group will know in advance to be able to purchase the wine, so that we can always have the same wine at the same time. And we would get from the expert, explanation on how to appreciate that wine. And that will trigger a conversation where you and I have never met before, which is not true, we know. But let's imagine that we've never met before. We're having a glass of wine together, and we're starting a conversation. And after that, I'm going to say, oh, he's a great guy. And you know what? I'm a corporate member. I was precisely having some issues in China. And I'm going to say, by the way, can I have a side conversation with you? That's exactly what happens in real life, social networking. That's what we're trying to replicate. Now, can we organize a soccer game or a football game, as we say Europeans? No. But can we organize a yoga class in small groups? And after that yoga class, have some kind of, interaction? We can. Can we have some kind of mental health training? We can. Can we have experiences where we would have a celebrity talking about her own experience, and then let the group continue socializing? Yes, we can. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And as I said before, one of the reasons why we decided to be very strict on the selection of our vendor, of our partner, was because precisely we want the networking to be very strong at this meeting. We really want, our members to have an opportunity to do business, to interact with each other, and that's what we're doing. And I'm always talking about a platform and not a solution because we're integrating different solutions. In fact, we're currently looking into at least, 2 to 3 different apps that will be integrated so that, you have one-to-one interactions, you have group interactions, you have larger meetings, and always in a virtual face-to-face environment.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
you're very welcome.
We'll also consider maybe we'll contribute some ideas too later.
That's perfect. That's extremely welcome. Thank you. Any other questions or comments or suggestions? Please feel free.
Yes, Etienne, Mr. Yongjianlei just raised his hand.
Yeah, I do have one quick question about the virtual booths, because usually in those physical booths, people have difficulties in shipping their books, their gifts. So it's very burdensome. But right now online, we have such a more convenient way to show the law firms or corporates images. I'm wondering whether INTA will be providing a demo or something like that to show how exactly those elements can be displayed, like taking INTA itself as an example, how you put your video, your logo, and other resources online. So probably I think that's a better idea, that this virtual thing can be sold. I mean, if I can use the word sold to more people who are interested in displaying their images and making more promotions. Thanks.
No, absolutely. That's a great comment as well. Like I said before, for the attendees, where we're going to try to organize sessions to make everybody, familiar, comfortable with the platform. We'll do that specifically for the exhibitors and sponsors as a kind of separate group. At the moment, we're kind of, creating the packages. We're working on developing the platform, but as soon as we, develop, that platform, we'll be engaging with the exhibitors and sponsors. For those of you who are familiar with kind of project management, we're kind of using what is called an agile methodology, which is, we're doing permanent enhancements. And as soon as we'll do those enhancements, we'll inform those who need to be informed, and exhibitors and sponsors are definitely part of that group.
Yeah, I think people who are interested in that part will be see more details in the following days for the updates on your website, or from Sans, or from Monica, or other working stuff in China, right? Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Well, Etienne, it seems that we don't have any more questions for today, and
I think there is one question.
Yeah,
I think there is one question, but if you don't mind, can somebody within the team take that question, and I'll rejoin you in just a...
Okay, sure. Yeah, what's the question?
Yes. Hi, this is Amanda. Hi, Seth. Hello.
Okay, yeah, I think we've got 2 questions. Amanda, how about you go first, quickly?
Thank you. My question, I think, is not that difficult. I just heard you introduce how you will use AI tools to do the matching and to give us more opportunities to do the networking. This is quite interesting. So I also just want to ask, is there any possibility to use the similar tool to give us more options to choose the sessions that we are interested and have the time to attend? Because just now when Etienne showed the slides, I noticed that there are so many different topics. It's very interesting. The schedule is so full. So for me, because for today, lots of people are from China. So we have different time zones. That means we need to use the tools to check which time suit me better. And then I need to check which topic suit me better. So if you can use the similar AI tools to give the registrant more, smart ways to choose the topics, I think that'll be easier for us to make decisions.
Right, so I think I missed the first part of the question, but I did not miss the second part, and I think I'll be able to answer your question, and otherwise, you can rephrase it. Listen, you're totally right, and basically, what we've done is we've been very carefully looking at the best option in terms of a global time zone, so that we could accommodate everyone at the same time. And this is why within the tracks, on top of the international track, there is one day which is a Mandarin track, there is one day which is an Asia track. And then in addition to that, please bear in mind that, in terms of educational offering, all the sessions that are live are going to be available as well on demand. So you're going to be able to, look at those sessions at any time, whenever you like. And in terms of networking, as you can see from the grid, there are networking opportunities that happen at least twice a day, so that you can pick what is the best time zone for you. So we've been carefully looking into that.
Okay, that is very helpful. And I forgot that if I, just like you mentioned, if I miss a very interesting topic, I can review the video, right? Because it's online.
Absolutely. Great. Absolutely, all the content. And that's something that is unique compared to other meetings in the past. In the past, we were, producing educational offering that quite often you were not able to attend because you were in meetings, you were networking. This time, for the first time ever, you're going to be able to get into meetings, you're going to be able to network. And on top of that, you're going to be able to see all the sessions whenever you like. Because, absolutely all the content will be available on demand. And that's going to be available at least until the end of the year, and probably will extend that. So, that's kind of a unique opportunity to benefit from, all the different sessions, all the different tracks that are going to be available.
Great, that is helpful. And for example, there is maybe some more interesting things to do. For example, if somebody can finish maybe 10 courses, they can give them a certificate to prove they are a good student or a good attendee.
Well, I mean, the sessions, they're about 30 to 40 hours of CLE and CPD. But we're looking into, additional certification opportunities. And then please bear in mind that, when we build this program, we've tried to develop as much and offer as much flexibility to our members as possible. So it's really up to you to organize your meeting the way you want. There is a lot of, educational offering. There are networking opportunities that happen several times a day, so that you can organize your time the best you can.
Great, thank you, Tian, and thank you, Seth.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Amanda. I think Jiaquan had a question. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much for your sharing. So I have actually two technical questions that I think people might be interested to know, or we might be interested to know. The first one is, would it be possible for the same account to log in at the same time in two different devices to attend like two different activities? And also the second question is that, would it be possible to share accounts to my colleagues or something like that?
Okay, so those are two great questions, and the answer to both of them is no, and I'm going to explain the reason why. So first, and it's a matter of security. It's one login, one password exclusively. And we're going to be able to track that. And if we see that the password and the login is being shared, we're going to block those, because that should not happen. And there is a good reason for that. Imagine that you've been invited to a meeting with a corporation where confidential issues are going to be shared. The corporation doesn't want you to share your login and password with anybody else. And that should definitely not happen. And even, from a revenue perspective, from the association, which is really what helps us fund, different projects around the world, it's, one person, one registration. It's like, when you're attending, a confidential meeting or a committee meeting or a board meeting, we want to have the individuals that are personally invited to those meetings. We don't want to have, another person, no matter whether it's a person from your firm or not. That should not happen. And in fact, this is why, we created the packages, because at the same time, we want to provide an incentive to firms and companies to bring more people to the annual meeting. That's why when you pay 5 registrations, you're going to be able to add 1 free additional person. And let me perhaps take that opportunity to talk again about pricing for a second. As you know, in most of the cases, our annual meetings take place either in the US or, in Europe. And for any of you, traveling to the US or to Europe, between travel, accommodation, registration to the meeting means thousands of dollars. This year, it's $750. It's a flat fee. So if you're registering to table topics, to speed networking, to workshops, you don't have to pay anything additional. And it's going to be valid for 10 days of live content. So that basically means $75 a day. It's a minimal amount, and that should allow you to bring more people. Probably for one of you attending an annual meeting in the US, you should be able to almost register 5 people for a virtual meeting. So we think there is a great opportunity there for firms, particularly, in China and in Asia in general, to,
Yes.
attend the annual meeting and register.
Thank you very much for your answers. And I think that is also what is the right thing to do to encourage more people to register. So my second, I also wish to know something about the meeting room that hosted by the enterprise, by the companies. How could we, for example, how could we apply for their meeting room? Is that sending an email or sending the reason why I want to join and then waiting for their approval? Can you explain a little bit more about this?
So you mean you're referring to the meetings that are being organized by corporations? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be exactly the same way as it has been in the past. It's by invitation only. So it's really, the corporations who are normally inviting their external counsels from all around the world to meet together. And you will get, if that's the case, you would get an invitation from your client, and that would be an exclusive invitation to you. That invitation would be, protected in the sense that you'll need to go through the platform for which you need to be individually registered. You'll have to pre-register for that meeting, and it will be password protected. So we're creating a full set of security layers so that we don't have in those meetings anybody that has not been properly invited by, the corporation. That same methodology or philosophy will be applied to, other meetings that, other organizations might want to organize. I'm going to give you an example. You as a firm, you want to buy a hospitality hub, and you want to have, your own meetings there. We're going to be providing you a secure environment so that you don't get into your meetings people who have not been invited. But you'll be able to invite as many people as you want. But it should be your call. What we want to make sure is that we don't have people who kind of, pop up into your meeting without getting invited, because that would be a breach of security confidentiality that we absolutely don't want to happen during the annual meeting.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. Yeah, there's
You're
no more
welcome.
question. Japan, thank you.
If we don't have any further questions for this afternoon, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. And certainly if Etienne or Baigang, you have a few last words.
Baigang?
Thank you, Etienne. Thank you for everyone. 我觉得是这个刚才他们的介绍都非常的清楚， 而且也给了我们很多的这种期待。我是希望大家刚才提的意见也很好，能够希望 INTA 接下来把这个各种准备的这种想法，包括技术上的这种手段，能够让它能够更现实的能够学习，或者说能够去体验一下同时呢，我觉得这个叫什么 virtual 的这种 meeting 这种见面，这个作为将来的新常态，可能我们都需要去学习和适应，还是给我们也希望给我们的这些我们的 attorney 更多的这种机会去学习去适应，所以这也是我们这个去积极的去参与的原因。那么同时我也是希望大家能够积极参与，继续把我们的这个年会的这种新形式下能够办好我觉得也是我们的一个心愿。我就说到这儿，谢谢各位。
Thank you, Baigang. 谢谢大家。Hope to see you in November online. 谢谢你。
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon and a great weekend. And thanks a lot for all your suggestions. We'll take good note of those and we'll try to implement as many as possible. So have a great afternoon and great weekend. Thank you.